really strategically puts our puzzle pieces in place so we can see the bigger picture of things.
In that same path of my higher self, which
so when you're reinventing yourself, sometimes it feels really scattered.
Of no's. If I would not overcame being a teenage mom,
is the person like it's $1 million Norma, right? Like $1 million Norma.
What your boundaries are and communicating with that.
What is she doing that I'm currently not doing?
And she went through a lot of shit too, right?
Right.
Because we don't really think about that. What she was dealing with at that time, right? And my mom was
like if I could open my purse, is that if I would not overcome domestic violence.
A Rican thing?
I guess she loves.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Hey, I don't hear you, baby. What's up?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Hold on. Let's try this again.
Live and in color.
Hello.
I hear you now.
Yes, perfect, my friend, perfect. Hello, mi gente, and welcome to the Tech Room, the Aces Club podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence. And like, if we're honest with ourselves, like there's a lot of us that are not emotionally intelligent. Some of us just learned how to become emotionally intelligent after years and years of therapy, myself. Anyways, so yeah, let's go. Take it, Diana.
All right. So tonight, there's so many topics. For those that are new, welcome to our page. Welcome to the Tech Room, the Aces Club podcast. This is such a pleasure to have you here. I hope you go ahead and click on the subscribe, follow us, look for our events and everything that we're doing. And so if you have been on here, you know for a fact that we love to talk about these topics. These topics are always very close to home. We like to make the Tech Room about the things that we have learned and that we have added into our lives that have changed our lives. And emotional intelligence, EI, is something that is 100% on brand and on topic with what we have done for ourselves and what has leveled us up. So emotional intelligence, not to me, I think it's just an essence. Emotional intelligence, for those that don't know, is the intelligence of your emotions. So knowing how to manage your own emotions, understand other people's emotions, and know how to navigate them. Ooh. And I think, Jay, you know what the funny part is? The thing is that a lot of people think that emotional intelligence is knowing how to manage your own feelings. And that's not where it ends. That's the part of it. Yeah. Knowing how to identify, describe, really feel through your body what your emotional intelligence is or where you're at right now emotionally. But also it's interpreting what is happening with the other person in order to have a successful relationship.
That's a fact. And you know what became really, really popular in all these little skits and all these podcasts and all this stuff on TikTok and shorts and all that was the fact that they were saying emotional intelligence is you knowing yourself and you understanding you and da-da-da. And the whole time, every time I saw one of those videos, I always said, you know what? Yeah, emotional intelligence starts with you, right? With understanding who you are, how you reflect on things, how you react to things, how to control your emotions, how to live your emotions, because that's also different.
Yeah.
Feeling your emotions and understanding that it's okay. Because there's a lot of people that mistaken that, especially in men. So I had heard there's this super popular guy, which I won't mention his name because it's irrelevant at this point, but he is super popular on TikTok. He has his own podcast. And a lot of the times he speaks to men in a mentorship kind of way. And his whole thing is that if men who are emotionally intelligent are in control of their emotions. meaning like if they don't have the allowance to feel sadness, to cry, to this or that, or whatever, because somehow, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's a lot of false information about what emotional intelligence is, because emotional intelligence isn't just you knowing yourself, and it isn't some kind of twisted control that you should have over yourself or somebody else. It's all about understanding and how to portray those emotions and not control them, but it's more about like, you know, like for example, how to not be unhinged.
Facts. That part. Because the thing is that, see, you know, there's some type of truth. If I'm understanding what he's saying correctly, there is some type of truth to what he's saying, but not in its totality. So here's what I would say. Yes, you have to be able to, when you have emotional intelligence, you are able to say, in this moment, I can't freaking blow up. I can't go crazy. Like I want to slap the living taste out of you right now, but I'm not going to slap you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because my EQ is very high and I understand that I have to gather myself and put myself in a situation where like I can express myself without losing my cool, like but not suppressing it. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean that you suppress your emotion.
And I think that that's where a lot of people get that wrong, right?
Yeah.
And suppression is such a good word when we're talking about emotions, because a lot of the times our inability to be emotionally intelligent is due to that suppression.
Yeah.
You know, for a long time, I really thought that me being in control of my emotions was me not showing my emotions, right? Understanding, like maintaining that kind of long stare, or that kind of controlled reaction where you couldn't get me to laugh even if you wanted to, or you couldn't get me to cry even if you wanted to. I thought that was emotional intelligence, and I thought that was strength. And you know, by the time I hit 26, that was eating me alive, like internally, mentally, physically. It was manifesting itself in ways that I just didn't even think was a thing. And so I think that it took me, honestly, till about 26 or 27 when I gave birth to Helena, to really understand that I needed to check myself and I needed to understand what emotional intelligence really was, because it wasn't what I thought it was. And so I got to a point where I was explosive, where I was hurtful with my words, where I didn't take other people's feelings into consideration. I definitely didn't care about people's emotions very much, because the way that I used to see it is, oh, if I can handle it, you can handle it. If I could tough it out, you can tough it out.
Is that like a thing that comes from your own past? Is that something that you learned? Like, you know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't give us a free pass, but is that something that you learned while growing up? Like, you just kind of like, you just put it on the back burner.
So I don't think that I learned it from anybody. I think that it became a coping mechanism. So, you know, constantly being told like, oh, stop that crying. You know, what the hell are you complaining about now?
You're so sensitive.
You're so sensitive.
I've heard that one so much.
I already told you to go wash the dishes and go to bed. And, you know, a lot of that kind of like aggressive tone from everybody, especially when you're a kid, it turns into that. It turns into that, oh my God, well, let me act right. Let me not cry. Let me not do this. Let me not that.
Right.
You know, it's the same thing when they tell little boys don't cry.
Right.
You know, boys don't cry, or boys don't hurt, boys don't this, boys don't that. And so eventually you say it enough to where you do believe it. And then you use it as a tool. You assume that is your social cue to in society, to be able to survive in society.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes we as parents, we forget that we are who train our children to go out into the world and socialize.
My God, how
starts at home. Right? Because your home training, como decía, I used to have a supervisor in the military that he used to say, your home training is showing. That he meant like you need to fix yourself.
Yeah, get your act right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
that used to get me so mad when he would say stuff like that. Because I'm like, you don't know me.
You don't know how I was raised.
You don't know how I was raised, you know. But it was a lot of that. And so and then obviously, you know, you go through traumatic events and situations and things like that. you can't exactly speak about it, or you don't feel comfortable speaking about it, and then you bury that, and then you feel like, oh, well, I need to make sure that I don't react to certain situations that trigger me, because people are going to know that this happened to me, or people are going to know that I'm suffering a divorce if I act a certain way or behave a certain way, or whatever the case is. So I think that for me, it was like a compilation of things, growing up from childhood all the way through adulthood.
Yeah.
And just, creating bad habits, if you will.
Yeah. I agree. I think I learned a lot of my suppression from childhood, and like the act right, and even in relationships like that. I think that one of my earliest relationships that I remember, it was just that it was always kind of like, you're too sensitive, you cry for everything, and I was like, but I'm just expressing how I feel or where I'm at, and I'm just letting you know so that I can give you the tools so that you know how to navigate me. And this is way many years before I even knew what emotional intelligence was, but I always like knew that I can't expect something from you if I'm not giving you the actual map, like putting the information in the GPS. And so I would give it to him, and he would just like throw it in my face, like, well, you're such a crybaby, you're so sensitive. And so that is my earliest memory of like suppressing and like, okay, fine. So I won't talk about my emotions. So I won't share how I feel. Right? So, and it wasn't on some like, I literally was a crybaby, like for everything. No, it was like, bro, like you called me not sexy. Like, what the hell? Like, it was on some, you really like, you're digging. So, hey, if there's something that I could do to be better, which is so crazy now that I think about it, like the way they used to bend backwards for someone.
Right?
It makes me so mad for doing that. Like, why did I even do that? But whatever, it is what it is.
I cringe. Let me tell you something. I cringe.
What I used to do for a dude.
I am currently going through still a process, even though I'm with somebody new. I am currently going through a process of feeling secondhand embarrassment off of my own firsthand embarrassment.
Say what? Speak it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I am feeling secondhand embarrassment for my firsthand embarrassment. Meaning, I am embarrassed now about something that happened.
Yeah, got it.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, girl, when I tell you, so I dated a guy on and off. And it wasn't really dating. It was a lot of play dates more than romantic dates. But we were dating. We were into each other. We had a relationship somewhat. But I allowed this person to like almost degrade me.
Yeah.
Like degrade me in the bedroom, degrade me like as a person, degrade me because of the way that I looked. I mean, he even said that, oh, I like one of the comments that he once said was, oh, I love your curly hair, but I wish it was longer because short, it doesn't look that great. So he would say things like that. And I would sit there and be like,
backhanded.
Yeah, like a lot of backhanded compliments. And now I think back at those situations and I feel embarrassed.
Yeah, for not putting your foot down and be like, excuse me, what the hell?
Yeah, like how could I allow somebody to speak to me that way? How can I allow somebody to bleed over me that way? Because obviously the problem was him, not me. And then later on, actually right before I got with my my boyfriend now, he tried to get back with me. He asked me to marry and all this other stuff. He's like, oh, I was a fool. I didn't appreciate you. I didn't this. But then that's when, at this point, I'm already healed, in a way.
You have emotional intelligence.
I have emotional intelligence. And I told them, I said, sweetheart, you didn't like me overweight. I'm still overweight.
Yeah, no.
I may not be as overweight because I've been working on myself.
Right.
And I know that you notice by my videos, but that doesn't mean that you get to come back in my life.
Right.
On top of that, you made me feel unwanted, unsexy. I did not feel safe or secure with you. I said, so I could never give you a second chance. I said, I'm sorry, you blew it.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you don't mean that. You were in love with me. You this, you that. I said, no, I really liked you and I appreciated you and I enjoyed our time.
Right.
And because there was a lot of fun times. I said, but down to the nitty gritty, you just never valued me as a woman.
Yeah.
And I felt powerful because I got to get that out of my chest. But when I got with Robert, you know, having him make me feel sexy and alive, right? Like a woman, and having me back feeling soft and my feminine energy and all this greatness. And now I think back at that relationship and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that I allowed somebody to treat me like that.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with emotional intelligence and your own acceptance and self-esteem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much. There's so much that goes into it. And for me, emotional intelligence is one of those things where it not only works for you and to equip you in a relationship, in a like, you know, heterosexual or any type of relationship you have, right? Friendship, but also in parenting. I've seen so much evidence of growth and knowledge in my emotional intelligence with my son. Like having the reservations, kids can drive me crazy. I love my kid. Like I love him. I worship the little ground that he walks on because he's just, you know, and God knows he sent me this specific kid because, you know, there's places where I need to learn. Like I am a firm believer that your children are a reflection of you, but also the things that the Lord wants you to fix.
Oh, absolutely.
Be more patient.
Absolutely.
He wants to be so patient with his ass because he's so much like me, but in a more highlighted magnitude. So he is very like black and white. So if it's you said yes, it's yes, and we keep our word. So he learns. He's a very auditory learner, and he really focuses on what you say. But he will verbatim give that back to you, like you said.
Yeah, and you're like that.
At 10:12.
You're very firm.
Yes. At 10:12. That I, you know, and I'm like,
no, because last month, Jamie, we said, and I'm like, okay, but yo no dije nada.
So it's just no, that's not me. So
you were quoting emails. What do you mean? You'd be like, of course we did. We had an email.
Ask her our email. Ask her.
Yes, you do. Or you'd be like, check the WhatsApp link. I said this.
I mean, if you look in the gallery.
No, Diana always comes with receipts. You gotta come correct.
Yeah, you do. But I will say a lot of that stuff I learned also because in hindsight, now I look at it and I'm like, you know, I didn't want to go through those failed relationships, like, you know, and my failed marriage, but it's not a failure because you learned in the process. It's a failure when you don't take anything out of it. If you don't extract any lessons and you learn nothing, then it was a failure. But because I literally took that and said, you know what, where did I go wrong? Where could I have added more value? Where was I lacking self-confidence, self-worth? Where was I not like really, you know, digging deep into my emotional intelligence and standing my ground, understanding my emotions, interpreting yours, and still sticking to what I wanted. One of the things that like my niece is growing up and she's very like, you know, she's going like Helena, they're already going really fast on the voluptuousness. And I'm telling her, I'm like, one thing that I remember getting bullied for a lot as a teenager and a young adult. I'm very old to the game. I'm almost like the 40-year-old virgin. You know, it took me real long to get to that point because I wanted to make it right. I was like, I'm very God believing. I'm not giving up the goods just to give them up. You know, like I'm gonna do it with my partner. And I spent 6 years with this person, and I remember, I've been telling my niece that like a lot of times my friends used to make fun of me, like, oh, be quiet because you're a virgin. You don't know nothing about that. Or like, oh, look, she's so, she gets good grades. She follows the rules. She's so obedient. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, all right. You know what? I'm glad I stood to my ground though. I'm glad that regardless of the fact that I didn't know all of the ins and outs of emotional intelligence, of, you know, doing the right thing, how to feel good, knowing how I would feel now at 20 plus 20, you know, I would not know that I am in the best place in my mindset because of the choices that I made. But I have to attribute that a lot to the last like 7 years of my life. I want to say, the last 7 years working on myself and working on emotional intelligence, working on being a better version of myself for my relationship and for my son, because it's very important. But it also gives you like that cojones, that know-how. You know what I mean? Like when you're in a bad relationship or you're, you know, talking to someone, or you're still, because, you know, we're still we're still single until we're married. Jamie and I are still single until
Facts.
we're married. Until you take me off the market, I am still single.
Although I'm kind of halfway there.
Yeah, but that's not real ring yet. Roger's gonna have to step it up.
Yeah.
So until then, you know, it's something where like I know what I'm worth and I know what I give and how much value you give. But I also identify when someone else brings something to the table, in emotional intelligence, in love, in compassion, and know how to do all those things in the right way. So to me, emotional intelligence is everything. It literally marries with everything you do. So as long as you're looking at it that way.
It is. And let me give a shout out to the Peñas. Thank you for the support. And somebody
what do you see them on?
When you hit the comments, you can see them. They said the Peñas are present.
Okay.
And somebody on IG said, what are the 5 key points to emotional intelligence? And they are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills, which is everything that we're talking about now.
Right.
So, no, but let's, to me, emotional intelligence, these mics are working against me today. Anyways, emotional intelligence with friendships. Ooh, that has been one of my biggest challenges throughout life is emotional intelligence with friendships. I have had a lot of toxic ass friendships. And that is a part of having lack of emotional intelligence. Because I used to pride myself on like, oh, I accept everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care what walk of life you come from. You know, I'm okay with it, blah, blah, blah. But what I wasn't doing was that I had no filter for people in my life in a way. Right. And so eventually I had to learn like, yo, this person is toxic. This is not who I want to be around. This is not healthy for me. If every time we go out to a club, we're about to be in jail, like this ain't it.
She said we're about to be in jail. So like, it's like you had to like, I think when I think of emotional intelligence and friendship, I think it's like that song, is the Big Pun? Where he says, and you know me from where? Elementary school. I don't know you, man. Go that way. That's what you gotta be like with these.
Tell me you're from New York, but I'll tell me you're from New York.
Yeah, go that way because I don't need your energy, your vibe. I love you, but I love me more. Deuces.
I'm so happy. I think with the people who I surround myself with today, which subsequently stop it. Nobody cares about you. Anyways, subsequently, it has to do with people who I've known for so long, like yourself, like Jamie, like the Peñas, who are people that I've always considered family, right?
Right.
And I'm like, at what point did I stray away from this and why? You know, I guess I had filler people, if you will, that kind of served their purpose here and there. But, you know, I grew emotionally and mentally. And I just started learning like, man, I feel heavy around this person, or I just don't feel happy anymore. I don't enjoy our outings. I don't enjoy our time together. I'm not learning anything from you.
Right.
And then there's that time where you feel like you're speeding past somebody, and not necessarily, you know, financially or status or anything like that, but you're passing them, and you're passing them mentally, you're passing them spiritually, you're passing them just in a different way to where they're no longer like fitting. Como que no cabe, right? Like they no longer fit.
It sucks when you say it that way, but it's like I've heard this before in that same term, like they don't serve you anymore.
Yes, they
in
don't.
In order to be in a productive relationship, friendship, love, whatever it is, you have to be serving each other. And if you're not serving me, not that this is a transaction, but we have to be able to be adding value to each other and loving on each other and feeding each other's emotional intelligence. I can't feed you and then meet you at your love language, meet you at the way you like to be talked to, the way you like to receive information, and then you don't meet me back there.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
And I think that, and you know, I'm still learning how to be emotionally intelligent and things like that. And I'm still learning about different relationships, because the funny part is that like you don't always have the same friendship repeat itself, right? Like who I am with you is not who I am with Jamie, is not who I am with the Peñas, because our experiences or shared experiences are different.
We're different.
Right? So, but the level of trust or the level of emotional intelligence that you desire to express with those who are in your lives matter, right? So like the fact that I can come to you and say anything and I know that you're not going to judge me for it. You might call me like 10 names, but that's fine. But I know deep down inside that you're not judging me for it, that I can be open about it, right?
Yeah.
To be able to gain familial trust with someone is heavy. It's not an easy feat, right?
No.
And I think that kind of breakaway of understanding that and being like, you know what, this is not fitting me anymore, and it's not fitting me because it lacks emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And one of those emotions that lacks emotional intelligence is envy.
Ooh.
Envy does not allow you to be empathetic to somebody.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't allow you to like not even see that person for who they are, what their purpose is. It just blinds you in a way. My mom says that la brujería más grande es la envidia, or the witchcraft, the biggest witchcraft you could do on somebody is to envy them, right? Because you end up not even seeing the person for who they are, what their purpose is, who they are deep down inside. What are they willing to offer you? Can you learn from them? You block all of that out the moment that you start feeling envy. And even that I've trained myself out of, to where any little particular jealousy that I have felt or something like that, I'm always like, no, that's not fitting. There's no point in that. And so when you think about things like that, like emotional intelligence applies to every aspect of your life.
It does.
Because think about leaders in the workspace. To be a leader, you have to exercise emotional intelligence, because you have, for the most part, you probably have a diverse staff, right?
You have to regulate your feelings. You got to regulate theirs.
And so you have to make sure that you guide people. You have to make sure that you understand where everybody's coming from. If somebody's suffering from something, you have to show sympathy. You have to be able to be in tune with that higher intellect of yourself. And regardless of what we think, the higher intelligence isn't an emotionally intelligent person.
No, that is such a freaking misconception. People think that, the high or another one, the higher in the totem pole you are in whatever it is, in life, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, like you have to know, or how to navigate. You don't. There's a lot of smart people in this world that have no idea how to handle people. I know how to handle better yet. They don't know how to handle their own feelings. They don't know how to regulate their own feelings or know how to identify, I feel this way because blah, blah, blah. This triggers me because it leads me back to when I was 5 years old and someone did XYZ. Like I literally have gotten to a point in my life where I can regulate, or I can self-diagnose myself if I'm doing something stupid, or like, oh, that was a little bit insensitive of me. And just like the reason why, actually, okay, I'm going to give you a specific example. And this doesn't happen often, but it happened on, was that Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? Christmas Day. And that was the worst day for it to happen because, it's family day, right? But it happened, and I'll tell on myself. My sister was discussing something from someone else's family, sharing something that happened and blah, blah, blah. And it made me kind of vexed. And so instead of saying this, I didn't like this, or I don't like talking about this specific topic because it triggers me and it makes me think of.
Oh, we lost Diana. I think she's having connection issues. Hold on, give it a minute. Oh, Diana, come back. Come back. Wow, she's gonna laugh when I'm like texting her right now. Come back, girl, come back. Juicy topic for sure. So, if you guys are listening, let me know what you guys think in the comments about emotional intelligence. When was the last time that you felt that you were not emotionally intelligent? That's a spicy topic for sure. Let me see here. Let me see if I can just remove her. There we go. Okay. But yeah, so let me know in the comments, when was the last time that you guys felt emotionally, like you weren't emotionally intelligent in a certain relationship, and why? For me, I think it has to be that relationship that I was speaking about, and friendships. There was a friend that I had for many, many years, and eventually I had to drop her because of that. I had to kind of let her go. And the reason for that was because I was always there for her and her kids, and we were friends for like upwards of like 10 or 12 years or something like that. And eventually it just got to the point where it just couldn't happen anymore because you're back.
I don't know what happened.
It just couldn't happen anymore because she was just, her jealousy and like her negativity turned into too much. And so eventually I had to let go of the friendship. And it was even bleeding into my daughter, and my daughter was noticing things like that. So at that point, you kind of just have to. She kept accusing me of doing certain things. She was jealous of a lot of things, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore, so I had to let it go.
I love that. Sometimes you just have to.
Yes.
And you think that sometimes friendships that are like that because they have the longevity of time,
Mhm.
that, oh, we've been friends for so long, so I can't let you go. That doesn't make the relationship valuable. That doesn't make the relationship or the friendship a good friendship. Time doesn't equal value. It's quality. It's the quality that you add to each other, the way that you show up for each other, the way I can lean on you, the way that you receive my craziness, and you match it with your craziness, right? Like, and so we're loving on each other in the right way. And I think that that's the best and the most simple way to understand emotional intelligence. Like, am I giving you what you give me? Even if it's not in the same way, because I could be extremely extroverted and you could be introverted. And that doesn't mean that you got to be hyped the way I'm hyped, but you have to allow me to share, to be there, to understand, and then help me understand. So a lot of times, Jamie and I, we bounce a lot of things off of each other, both personally and business wise. And sometimes I'll tell her like some of my personal stuff, and she'll be like, okay, you know that the reason why you're doing this is because X, Y, and Z. Like, and it's like, get out of my brain.
Simpatico.
Get out of my brain. But we have also known each other for so long.
Right?
Yeah, so we've known each other 22 years. So we have.
Yeah, don't say that.
That's
a long ass time.
That is a long ass time. So we know, it's so funny well, I'll tell you afterwards. It was crazy. I thought about it off tip, and I was like, she said she doesn't like the dentist, but you were the first person that took care of me when they pulled my tooth out.
Yes. You know what? It's crazy because I just celebrated my silver anniversary with Jamie. Me and Jamie have known each other for 25 years.
Oh, that's so cute, you old hags.
Yes, we are. Oh my God, that's scary. Anyways,
that's a lot of time.
That is a long time.
Going back to that, I was telling them on the live because I don't know what the hell happened to my computer, but I was saying that emotional intelligence is one of those things where it is beautiful. It's a beautiful weapon to use, but it can be used incorrectly when used improperly.
Yes.
So when you have it as an arsenal to use to help you develop a better relationship, a better marriage, a better friendship, a better workmanship, like any ship that you got can sail. It can sail bigger, farther if you put the work into it. And one of the biggest works besides communication is and respect is emotional intelligence. Really meeting somebody where they're at and really identifying and co-regulating yourself. And then knowing, okay, you know what, boo? We've been down this road. So I know that when you start acting all types of like bonkers, something's happening. Tell me what's really wrong. Like, so that's how you know that it's a healthy, good relationship, because they're like, no. I'm not going to take you yelling and be like, I'm going to match you and I'm going to yell back at you. No, I understand that. I'm going to keep patient and I'm going to dig deeper because something's happening right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's interesting too, when you have somebody who can kind of read you that fast, because it's almost like Like I used to think that nobody would be able to read me like my mother. Like my mother used to know, and you know how I am. I'm pretty introverted. Cuando yo me cierro, me cerré. I don't want to talk to nobody else. I don't want to talk to nobody else. I don't care. So I went to my corner. But my mom used to be able to tell real fast. Oh, Jamie, yeah, I have to take Jamie home because se aburrió y no quiere hablar con nadie.
Oh my God.
But I used to think that wasn't a thing. That I was never gonna find somebody to kind of like acclimate to that, to the fact that I do have a social battery and that I don't want to be free willy-nilly around anybody. That I don't have that trust to be relaxed around every single person. I'm just not that way. And so I'm kind of lucky now that with Robert, he does understand that and he can see it like really fast. He's like, your face turns into like resting bitch face ASAP. Like
it does. And she and here's her EQ. Here's her emotional intelligence. She will tell you, "Are we done yet?" Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
As soon as you get the as soon as we get, you know, you have to learn your people. As soon as you get the first like inkling of like, are we done? Is this over? Bye bye. She's like, I meant that was it. She's not gonna tell you another time. She's done. Let's go.
I will walk the hell away.
Let's go.
Girl, I will wait for you in the car. I don't care if you take 3 hours. I will sit in the car and fall asleep and not care.
I've been yelled at already. She's still saying bye to people. Let's leave.
No, and it's funny because my friends, the Peñas, right? They've been in my life for a long time already too. I mean, Helena is 11 and I met them before Helena was even a thought. I think I was like 22 years old, maybe.
Wow.
Oof. And I'm about to be 38. But they know that around them, I relax. I have full trust in them. Helena calls Margarita mom because she's been Helena's second mom basically for years, and she took care of Helena when Helena was first born. So, you know, Helena called her mom before she called me mom.
Oh, sure.
And so I have a very relaxed form around them because I just, you know, we have that confianza or that trust. Pero Peña knows because me and Peña, we used to be on the same ship together in the military. And he knows, okay, I'll give him that look like, I don't want to talk to that person. Don't get me close to that person. Like,
it's not happening.
It's not happening. I'm done with this. You know, and so it's funny because I think most of my friends know that I'm just that way.
Yeah.
But I have a meter, and when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing because we know, and now it's like, it's when you love someone or you care about someone enough. Why would you put yourself in a situation where you're going to?
Loves me.
I didn't say that out loud. You have to put yourself in a situation where you're like, I'm not going to get myself in trouble. Like, why do I want to be on bad terms with her? Why do I want to be on bad terms with my partner? Right. No, I already know that person doesn't like it. Let me not push their buttons. Mm-hmm. That's just because you know what? Here's how I understand. Here's how my beautiful brain works. Look, watch.
Ay, Dios
every single day. This is how it works. So let's use my boo, right? So if me and my boo is having a wonderful day,
and your boo's listening on Instagram, by the way.
And we're having a wonderful day, right? Like, I am not going to push his buttons and make him upset or make him feel aggravated or anything like that, because guess what? After that, then we're going to have a great old day at home or whatever it is. Then I might get some nookie. And then, you know, but if I jack it up, like, you know, because I wasn't emotionally intelligent, I wasn't listening, I wasn't paying attention, or putting his feelings before mine in that situation, in that moment, then you mess up everything else. And then here, that's Tuesday. By Friday, we're still not talking, or he's upset, which will never work because I don't do that.
I don't like that either.
Yeah, I don't talk to you for, nigga, you better talk to me like in an hour. Like, we fixing this now. He knows. I think it's one of the things that he loves about me. Because I could talk.
Lord have mercy.
We're gonna figure this out now.
And I think that for me, on the opposite spectrum of this, while you guys all understand what my limits are, I also do a lot of the what I call sacrificing is attending events and doing activities and doing things. Like for example, with my daughter, I learned that although I don't like to make new friendships, I have to smile at the other moms at the bus stop so that Helena can have friends. You have to say hello and good morning. You know, so I have to be, I've learned how to be amicable, right? And how to be social. And I forced myself into those realms because of that. And then another reason why I also learned how to push myself that way is because obviously being an entrepreneur, doing a podcast or wanting to teach or doing any of those things that I did, or even being a leader in the military, you have to learn how to push your limits, how to push yourself, how to go beyond your own, your own blockers emotionally. Because it's not that I don't like people, although I do say that a lot. It's just that I find it exhausting.
Your battery.
It's weird. It's weird to say that, but I do. I think that I'm an empathetic person. So I tend to almost feel people's vibrations and energies. And sometimes that just feels heavy. And I just don't. And so that's what drains me.
Yeah, it's very draining. Being empathetic, being an empath is very, very hard because sometimes you don't even know that the person's going through something. But if you're really emotionally connected to that person, you can feel it before they even announce it that it's happening. So it's very heavy. It's a lot. It's a beautiful thing, but it can be a daunting thing too. And then when there's a lot of emotions in a room, or if you ever felt like you walked in a room and it felt like heavy.
Like
you don't know you're in the room. It's because you feel it. They vibrate. It's a palpable thing for you, and that's what it is. And so you have to listen to your intuition. Like, all right, this is not a room I need to be in. I'm gonna do the little cordial thing. I'm gonna circle the room and I'll be like, I got a call. I gotta go.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Do you know how many times? Oh my God. Oh, a client just called me. I gotta go.
I'm so sorry,
girl. And then I'm sitting here on my couch eating popcorn and watching a movie
because it's so much better. And let me tell you, that's part of. There's so many things that's part of it. Also emotional intelligence, but also really being super in tune with yourself. And that took me so long to get to. I would feel bad. I would show up to the baby shower because I thought it was like my obligation. Like I have to be there. And you don't have to. If it doesn't feel good to you and it's not good for you, then don't do it, because that's also part of having the proper emotional intelligence, the regulation for yourself. Also knowing that you're going to show up to someone's party, someone's event, something, whatever, and you're going to show up already empty. You're showing up with an empty cup, which then depletes your emotional intelligence. And then that's when you come out of your face because you didn't want to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
But you didn't listen to yourself.
Oh yeah.
So then you're back to square one. You know what I mean? Like,
and I used to do that a lot. I used to do that a lot with family, specifically, where I would put myself in circles that I did not feel happy or comfortable in, but I would tolerate it because one, my mom wanted to see an aunt, or my brother was in town, or we were both in town from being out of town, and so I would join in. But I already knew that it was a space that I did not want to be in because there were certain circles that I just was not liked or favored, and it was fine. It was what it was. But I think that from the age of like 15 and up, I started to learn how to separate myself, like really fast. Like if I just did not feel happy, I was not going to be around you. I didn't care who you were. And I did that. I think I isolated myself from my dad's family. Yeah, by the age of 16, I think I stopped seeing just about every single family member on my dad's side.
That's good. I mean, in hindsight.
No, but it was because the toxicity and the fights and the problems that came, and there wasn't even me involved. I wasn't involved in any of the fights, but just being around that environment and just knowing that you were on edge as soon as you entered that room and they were like, oh, is so-and-so coming? And I'm like, how y'all mad?
Yeah, no.
And it hasn't even happened. Like the person is not even here. Why y'all mad, you know? So a lot of that, I think I learned from the age of 15 and up to just shut all that stuff down and to slowly but surely understand what circles I belonged in and which circles I didn't belong in.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with anything else but emotional intelligence and understanding that wasn't a charge that I wanted to do. That just wasn't an environment that I wanted to absorb. I definitely didn't want to carry that kind of heaviness. And it just turned into that. A lot of people are heavy and they don't realize that they're heavy. They think that they're having a good time, they're having fun, they're right. Nobody else matters, blah, 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 blah. But they're heavy as heck. And as soon as they enter a room, they make that room go like this, como la cucaracha en la luz.
Yeah, it's crazy. And let me tell you something, kudos to you for really like establishing that and really standing your ground early on before you could really put a label on it, right? Like, and then now supercharging that and making sure that you're fully aware of what you're doing and how you're moving. Because here how, I just gave you an example about when you're in a partnership, but also when you're a parent, like now you equip these kids at an early age to know exactly how to co-regulate and regulate their own emotions. So now when some Billy Bob or Susie May comes up to them and tries to play games and is giving me the BS on how they can, so they didn't learn that, or that my life wasn't set up the way, you're like, bullshit. No one knows anything until they learn it. So find a book, read it, learn about, because I didn't know, and maybe I did to a certain extent, but then I made it my passion, my purpose to really want to have successful, good relationships with myself, with my partner, with my son, because I want my son to be equipped so that Susie May doesn't come, talking shit to him and trying to play games with him and give him, half of what she's supposed to show up with, not adding value to his life, not giving him the grace to not be okay one day, the grace to be upset and explain why he's upset properly because he has the right platform to. But then, but if I don't give him the right materials, the right tools and arsenal right now, then Susie May can come on her face and he'll just take it. And we're not doing that because I'll be Susie May's ass.
And you know what? That's so enlightening to hear from a boy mom, because I'm a girl mom, and even my stepkids, well, 2 were girls, and then my nephew was obviously a boy nephew. But I didn't get to take him through the older years of teenage years in order to have those conversations with him. I've had a couple, but I think that a lot of the times, the way that we hear in our community, Hispanic community, the way that we hear boy moms speak about their boys isn't like that. Not always. It's always be a little player, be this, be that, have all the girls.
Hell no.
And I'm like, and this is why these men grow up and they don't know how to handle a family. They don't know how to have a long-term marriage. They don't know how to keep things separate.
No. Not in my house. I tell him all the time.
Home, right?
I'm raising a king. I told him you're a king and kings don't behave in that way. You behave with proper manners, proper, etiquette. You open the doors. Yesterday, he opened yesterday, the day before yesterday, he opened the door, and I guess I gave him grace because it was cold. But I'm like, bro, but hello, you didn't open the door for me. Like, what's up with that? Like, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom, I forgot. But little things like that, like those are the things that matter. Those little things, like, listen, you know what? Or when he is sassy, he has his moments. He's a kid. He's 9. His emotions are running wild. His hormones, he's evolving. And so when he gets a little sassy, a little snippy with me, I'm like, excuse me. Well, I also have feelings. And and the way you're behaving in this moment is not making me feel very excited and happy. So that he understands that it's okay to also be upset. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to go through things, but it's also okay to be conscious of other people's emotions and never negating yours, but also knowing that it's not okay to not, regulate or not be, open to like, okay, that person, I was kind of mean, like that shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. One of the things I do with him every morning is, we go over with what is integrity, what is accountability, and what is leadership. And so he could remember those things because be it a man or a woman, you should always, those are 3 words I think that are very, very powerful. Emotional intelligence should also be in that. But I think that when you have integrity, accountability, and leadership, those also just it just simmers into that.
Yeah. And that's all part of emotional growth too, understanding those highlights, because motivation is part of emotional intelligence. How do you self-motivate? How do you, do you need an external source to constantly push you? And if so, how do you fix that, right? And I think that we all go through that. We all go through emotion or lack of motivation periods or emotional imbalances areas, especially for women, when you're transitioning from, being a toddler mom to then now you have a teenager and now you're going through your own emotions because your kid is growing. And so it takes a lot. And I think that we're constantly learning what emotional intelligence is, at different stages of life and at different stages of friendships or relationships, period.
Where should someone start if they don't know how to be emotionally intelligent, or they don't know how do they do it so that they can apply it to their relationships? Like, where should they start?
I would say therapy. I think that even if you think that you didn't go through something traumatic, or even if you think that you don't need therapy, I suggest therapy, any type of therapy.
Yeah.
Because whether you speak to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or you are having, I don't know, you're part of a development group, you're part of something, whatever type of therapy works for you, maybe painting therapy, I don't know, whatever helps you be in your head and understand you as a person and understand why you behave or why you take on things the way that you do. I think that therapy is whatever therapy
for everyone.
Yeah.
Having a neutral source to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you said that there's other ways, because there's so many ways. Now there's freaking online therapy. So if you have lack of time, there's BetterHelp. There's so many other companies that really do these like online things.
Yeah.
And there's other type of therapy. So there's like, shadow work that you can work through yourself.
Oh yeah. There's journaling. There's
books.
books.
That.
There's books too, self-help books. I mean, there's so
much.
Ways.
There's so much. I feel like when people say things like that, it's such a cop out. Like, and I try to be super empathetic, and I understand that it's not everyone is raised with the right, but I wasn't either. My parents didn't do not a damn skippily thing when it comes to emotional intelligence, or nor did they really know about it.
Yeah.
I have had to teach my parents at their age now how to be more emotionally intelligent, how to be more empathetic, how it doesn't have to make sense to you. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but you have to be understanding and sympathize with me. And at least try to, I don't understand it. I don't really like it. This is not how I would do things, but because I love you, I am going to go in this path. Because I want you to feel, hugged virtually, or, what is it called? Oh God, what's the word at the tip of my tongue? Like, not actually feel like a hug, but almost like this, like, hug that you just with your words. You're hugging me with your words, with your actions. I want you to feel that. I want you to feel like I understand you, I love you, I respect you. And because I do, I'm going to meet you where you're at, right?
Oh, yeah.
Regardless if it feels good to you or not, or if it's the way you would move, but it's how I do. And because you want to keep this relationship and you value it, you're going to do it.
Do you think that you can teach somebody how to understand you emotionally?
You can if they are open to it, not if they're not. You can't force someone to understand you. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
But if they say, hey, I don't know, but I am willing to learn, you just got to give me grace and you got to teach me. If that's the case, I think then you can do it. But if they do not want to, or if you give them the information, the blueprint, and you're like, okay, this is what I need, this is what I like, this is how I am, da 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 da, and they do nothing of the source, then you need to pack it up, baby girl, and move that way.
Thanks. Do you think that the lack of knowledge of emotional intelligence can sometimes affect our delivery or expectations of relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I feel like it's the culprit, or the thing that messed up my marriage per se, or any relationship that I've ever been in, because it was married with the fact that I didn't have enough emotional intelligence and self-respect for myself. So because I lacked the two, not one, but two, then I didn't put my foot down when I was supposed to. I didn't express it properly because I assumed that you should know. Because you love me, you're studying me, because that's a job. Your job now is to study me. This friendship is predicated on you studying me and me studying you, and making sure that I understand where you're at, how you're feeling, what you need from me, and vice versa when it comes to a relationship. So when I feel like because of that, because I didn't have it in place, it really hindered my portion of it because I can only take accountability for my part.
Right.
Now that person's part, they also were not, and still probably aren't, not there yet, because emotional intelligence seems like something super easy, but it's rather complex.
Mhm.
And has so many, like five, what is it, five
Yeah,
steps?
5 key points. Yeah.
5 key points. So if you're not, it's not that you have to have them all, but you have to really intentionally. It's with intention that you do it.
Work on it though.
You
Yeah.
really have to do it intentionally, because when you don't do it, you really will see the difference. You'll see how it's like such a disconnect. Like, I'm just a mom to be a mom. I send you to school. I send you, like, he did his homework. Okay, I take him out every 3 months, like, and it's so like very disconnected. When you have emotional intelligence, your kid understands you, you understand them. My kid, sometimes I've gotten to a point with Roger where it's like a little too much, because I have no poker face. So anybody that knows me, I have no poker face. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm mad, I'm mad. If I'm upset, you know it. So he can tell the slightest change in my face, and he's like, "You're getting upset. You're getting irritated with me."
Yeah, Helena does the why you got an attitude.
Yeah. All right. So but the point of it, to show you that, is these little small human beings. She's what, 11 now or 10?
11.
And a 9-year-old can really understand because they're paying attention.
Because they're paying attention.
Yeah, they've made it their mission to, like, I love my mom. My mom is my best friend. We're kiki. I don't cross the line, because they both are very obedient, and they both know that they can't cross that line. But they also understand that we can play, we can joke, blah blah blah. But there is some type of, like, that self-regulation, that emotional intelligence, where they know, this is how it is, and I already know. She opened up those big ass eyes of hers, and I'm about to be in trouble, so I need to, like, back it up.
Yeah.
But it also goes all back to intention. Do you really want to?
Do you really want to? That's true. I think that in social skills, at least of part of social intelligence, I think is where I've had the most growth. Understanding how to speak with people, understanding how to give way for other people to speak, understanding when not to speak. Is huge in social settings, specifically when you're in an entrepreneur capacity. You have to understand how to speak and when to speak, which is interesting, right? Because I dance around a lot of different worlds. As an engineer, I'm around men, and men are men. I'm not going to touch that. So anyways, but then I step into the world of, like, our podcast, and I have to be a different person, right? I have to articulate myself differently. I have to make sure that I behave differently. When I'm in the capacity of a realtor, I have to be a little bit more sympathetic and empathetic with people, because we're talking about people who are heavily emotionally invested in, and just as much as they are financially invested in what they're about to embark on, right? So I have to understand that and grow a lot and learn a lot on how to deal with that kind of stuff, right? How to be hypersensitive to people's happenings, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, you can't go out to a seller who's emotionally attached to a home that perhaps has been in his family for 90 years, and now he has to get rid of it because his spouse passed away, because the taxes are too high, he got laid off. You have to be really, really sensitive on how you navigate that. You can't just go in there and be like, so listen, this is what the market is. I'm going to price your house for this much, and this is what it is.
That's it.
No, you have to sit there and you have to listen to them, because perhaps something that they say is going to cue you as to how you handle that transaction.
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to sell this house? What are their limits? How do you know what you can and cannot do with this client? How much leeway is this client willing to give you?
Yeah.
Right? And so that takes a lot of studying that person, a lot of listening and staying quiet, and a lot of understanding. And that's a social skill that you have to learn, that you have to develop. Emotionally intelligence has to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's huge, right? And so the many hats that we wear sometimes, don't exactly look exactly the same emotion when we speak about emotional intelligence, right? Because you can be talking about a myriad of spectrums of situations or scenarios that you could be in, or just the diversity in the human being, period. Every head is a universe, right? So you have to be very, very careful when you are learning emotional intelligence. I would say to be open,
Yeah.
incredibly open, to be forgiving.
Get a mentor also.
Yeah.
Mentorship is very good. We do a lot of mentorship programs. We do a lot of coaching because
Mhm.
to us, it's been something, like I said, when we opened up the call, like it's something that we really are passionate about, adding value and loving all others. The podcast in itself, it's kind of made around that, around adding value in every aspect of our lives,
Yes.
from the things that we've learned firsthand and also studied, right? Because we also, like we said before, and if you haven't, go back to the first episode on this season, where we have so much accolades and so many things that have made us be where we're at today, and that we can be in this point where we can share from
Right.
a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and making it all together to kind of deliver the package to you. But mentorship is really, really good. Coaching, you can go into our linked in our bios in Facebook and in Instagram, and you can book a mentorship call, and we can set something up. But I think that when people actually have the intention to learn, emotional intelligence can transform your life. It can
Yes.
transform the way you parent, the way you love, the way you give, the way you show up to work. And so when you have the right emotional intelligence arsenal, or like the equipment of it, you can have a really good life. I really think so. I think it's like working out, honestly. It's like one of those, it's working out, it's something that everybody puts in the back burner. A lot of people, like, we don't, sometimes I even like, hi, not today. But when I do, I know I feel sexier. You can't tell me shit. Girl, sexy. I feel strong. I feel like my butt grew a little bit. Like,
kill me, please, right now on the live.
So the same thing with emotional intelligence. Like, you feel different.
Yes.
It will help you really, really pivot.
And you feel free.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So
We
even
didn't
if you're
think
wrong,
about that.
even if you're like in the wrong, not in the wrong, but like, even if it's like you're trying to cut somebody off, you don't even feel that heaviness.
No.
Because you're like, I stand on 10 toes. Like, I said what I said, and I told you, and I did it in the right way. I didn't crush you. I didn't disrespect you. But most importantly, I took care of my feelings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hands down. Bueno, mi gente, we have come to the end of episode 2, season 3. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself and the conversations. Thank you for those of you who joined on the lives. Thank you for those of you who commented, and thank you for the support as always. Make sure you guys share, like, and subscribe. Look us up on YouTube if you haven't already. The subscription is free. That's not going to last very long, but once we start picking up here on YouTube, just the same way that we picked up on Spotify, we will have a subscription charge. Excuse me. But as always, I would like to leave you guys with your message of the night. And for today, it is to be forgiving with yourself, to learn how to love others as you would love yourself, and always be open to learning how to love others.